I was asked what I think about consumerism, and I thought, well, given the age that we live in, consumerism is something important, just as everything is. The point is, if something is overinvested in, then it might actually become a problem. I always perceived consumerism being mostly about women because it gives them a certain illusion of power. Yes? When you look at things in general, women are usually the grand purchasers, the ones who feel a need, for reasons beyond them, usually, to buy as many things. Yes? It's typically an escape mechanism from usually abandonment issues and things like that because we live in a sick society, so all these kinds of issues are somewhat expectable. Normal, yes, but they shouldn't be normalized, which is a different point. So when it comes to things in society, well, consumerism means providing in order to exist, and society has to provide back a part of what the people create. And well, exchanges exist and so on and so forth. But consumerism in these days seems very illusionary because we live in a death cult society. We live in a society that wants you dead, wants you stupid, and obviously complacent. So, in such a situation, consumerism becomes only a mockery of your life. Things are done with less and less quality so that they break, or they are programmed to break through different updates so that you're forced to buy something new. And in the end, consumerism still feels like at a wide level something to target women more. Why? Because women in general feel, at least to me, easier to tempt with all sorts of things. We all have necessity for attention because we are a collective race. We live in societies, and obviously we need some social attention, and obviously some recognition as well. And recognition can come for how you look also, not just for how much you work on the field that, well, you have chosen to, well, to follow. So, women are just or having this impression that they are expected to look nice, but I feel that that is mostly an illusion because we kind of live in a society where everyone is kind of objectivized, even if women consider that they are the ones and the only ones. Everything is a discardable battery in a sick society like the one we live in. You are born, you are programmed that you have to be parasited by the society, you have to work your ass, everything that you get has to be taxed, and then you're discarded as a battery when you no longer can provide. Yes, that is why, well, the old people in this sick society seem to not be too enjoyed, too liked by the society because they no longer can provide. Although the principle of a society says that, well, they have to tend to the elders after they have, invested their life in supporting society. But, well, society has its other plans and agendas, anyways, and, well, usually those do not imply your existence. So, when we are to move further into this concept of consumerism, consumerism is yet another way of keeping you materialist and obviously keeping you somewhat primitive. Always chase the new things, always chase the so called new, even if it is a repackaged old aspect and sold on the market as something slightly better. And also, it is kind of forced because, in terms of hardware, softwares, and the such, sooner or later there is this collective push towards something, and sooner or later you're also kind of forced to accept the new. Because, well, we kind of live in a corporatist society, so everything has to be replaced sooner or later. It's all about whatever that word is, I think it was called mandates, similar to the American model, where they just issue a new model, they just issue a new mandate or whatever it's called. I always forget that term. And technically, everything is just an object for society, even people as well. Because when the USA starts a war, for example, they just issue orders for whatever objects they need, military equipment, and obviously the military personnel. And after they finish a war, they don't necessarily withdraw many of their wounded, or if they have tanks lost in there or all sorts of things, they don't bother much with those because they are just discardables. And this imperialism has been more or less drenched in the consciousness of people all over the world, more or less, because this is the way that well, that sick society views life. It is just a harvestable resource. It's not just something that has to exist. Its only purpose is to be harvested, because in the end, the purpose of imperialism is nothing else but parasitism. Yes, it's just a parasitic society that feeds upon everything. What does the USA feed upon? Well, much of the planet, anyways. What does it like the most? Well, just like any other parasite, it feeds upon the blood of its victims. Narcissists feed on your own life energy and your own emotions. Well, other parasites feed directly on your blood, which is also life energy of yours. And, well, let's not forget imperialism and, well, the great powers, more or less, not just the USA, feed upon oil. Yes, especially the USA. Oil is technically the blood of the planet, if we are to think a bit about. It is a life force of the planet, and we are consuming it greedily, which, well, leads to some disasters and obviously to some reactions from the planet, because the planet obviously is a live organism. But you're not taught that because you live in a sick society. The only purpose is to live until the society simply leads to your self destruction, and the representatives of those societies will live somewhere until, all the cataclysms go away and, well, society simply crumbles. Few humans remain alive, and then they will start ruling the new communities of people again and again. We have humans have gone through five or six such disparitions of us from the planet. Yes, mass extinctions, whatever people call them. Yes, and then some of these societies that hides underground or in space will simply come back and try to rule yet again all the new communities of humans that will arise and influence their life again and again. And it feels like this is the repeating story of our existence. So consumerism, if we are to believe, it is nothing else but the lifeblood of these parasites. They are pumping it into our consciousness to live as nothing else but the things that we need. Yes, because by embracing this consumerism in the end, you kind of agree to become a discardable battery. Yes, you agree to live the life of that of those objects that you use and then suddenly discard. There is literally no more, um, let's say, communion in between you as a human being and the objects that you make use of. Because in the end, those objects are also some kind of life force that you make use of. When we were young, you used to have one or two, maybe three pairs of anything, and you would make use of those. Nowadays, if they break, you no longer need a shoemaker. You just go and purchase a new one. And the prices go up and up and up. That is the problem of consumerism because it provides for everyone, but there are only centralized stock providers. There are no longer small businesses that can handle that for the people. So if suddenly six societies decide that you're no longer needed, just like nowadays we can see the six society is having a war against its own citizens. You are no longer needed. That's why they keep telling you. Yes, they want to replace you with synthetic humans, with machines, and in many parts of the world, this has become self-service. You no longer interact with humans because, well, some fuckers in this world simply decided that, well, you humans are no longer needed. Well, it is indeed true that a lot of people consume resources for nothing, but, well, in the end, it is just a battle of whoever can parasite the others more, and a lot of people still prefer to live this old, forsaken, hopefully soon forsaken lifestyle where they just uh, put their hands greedily on as many resources they need to live, and hopefully they die peacefully and live by the conviction that there is no other repercussions that come after you simply pass away, perish, pass away, whatever way you want to call it. So, consumerism feels like an illusion. It is a controlled agenda, but it seems to favor women because usually they tend to be easier to fool around or easier to tempt. And, well, also they are the ones who, in terms of certain industries, they consume way more. Yes, so they have way more necessities. Now, fashion and the such, they're all just an illusion of power for women. It just gives them a certain fake empowerment because they think that if they dress in a certain way, they will receive more attention, and they will get even more pissed that they will not receive their attention because many women are silly enough to not ask themselves what exactly they want from life. Many of them just want free attention and money to live life lavishly, but they always forget that nothing comes in for free. And they think that embracing this parasitic lifestyle where they can just live off of other people, well, it can go on for a certain period of time. Sick societies always will favor such women because they are parasites just like them. And it is important in a sick society, obviously also in a death cult society, that the genders are somewhat separated and frustrated one with the other, because this is the easier way to simply control populational birth. Yes, and when the populations are reduced to a certain number that the sick society can control, obviously that will result to a change in the agendas where the idea of family is yet again promoted, obviously in a mocking way, but it will be made to be important yet again. Yes, for the last 1,000 years, it was important to increase the populations because the ones using occultism knew that the times of these technologies would come, so they could actually start decreasing the number of people on the planet just by having them frustrated, by dividing them into groups who will be supported by certain temporary agendas, because it is important to support a certain agenda for a certain period of time, pump the consumerism, and then suddenly dry it out because people only need a period of time to become embracing of something, and they will keep doing that even if the society no longer supports it. Just like you can see with Pride Month and all sorts of these agendas that they were once promoted and now nobody gives a damn, just like society doesn't give a damn on anyone. Yes, a lot of people, well, they still believe and embrace the LGBT agendas and the such. They embrace the consumerism regarding that, like video games, movies, and all sorts of things like that, because many people believe that they are still favored by society. Society doesn't care a shit about you, it doesn't care much about you, and well, it just relishes when they see you confused, when they see you guilty, when they see you at war with others, because war is what keeps this sick society up and running. So consumerism is more or less nothing else but a energy stream that is used by occultism in certain ways to control people's minds and to make them embrace the same life, the same misery of the objects that they make use of. Because in the end, it's all a reminder that to this sick society, you don't care, you don't matter at all. Yes? And you're also promoted to not care about that. Why are teenagers also promoted to have self destructive um, early lifestyles? Yes, early life lifestyles to be self destructive, because then they will become dependent on the chemicals that the society will provide, and that provides a lot of control on their behavior. It's all a society of control in the end, because that's what parasitism means. And consumerism is all nothing else but this kind of control, because whoever can provide obviously has control. Yes? And well, hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You're appreciated. Take care. Enjoy life. This being said, Ferinjan Board signing out.